Here's another question from a listener stroke viewer. Have you ever faced backlash over things you chat about on the podcast?
I think we constantly face a degree of backlash. So in the internet is basically, or social media is basically obsessed with issues to do with immigration, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's always, somebody said to me before about working for the Indo, they said, 50% of the comments that we get under any story, whether it's about, a child recovering from cancer or, somebody signing for Manchester United, is about immigration. So there's always some backlash on some issues that are the hot topic of the day.
Those ones you definitely get. And I mean, and most of them are sort of an anonymous backlash and they're really racist or whatever, and you just have to ignore them. But I don't actually think we do get a huge amount. We don't really get any. People are very nice out there.
Yeah, they are. But you wouldn't consider getting backlash from the Taoiseach or the Taoiseach over being too nice to Jerry Hodge.
No, I don't mind them. They just ignore them. They're too polite anyway to say something too nasty.
No.
But I sent you an interesting piece. Did you read it from the New York Times this week about the evolution of podcasting? Okay. And it was all about, what's happened with podcasting, and really the big growth arena for podcasting is actually YouTube, and it's the TV. Yeah. And they were looking at, who's watching podcasts. And of course, it seems a lot of people are, because it seems to be quite an amount of YouTube content is that. We can see our own figures. The growth of YouTube, the viewers, is massive. Yeah. But it was trying to dig down into why people watch it. And it's for the same reason people watch TV. They turn it on in the corner of the room. It's a little bit of company, isn't it? While you're knocking around the house, or when I often stick something on the TV without really properly watching it. You'd be glad to know this, by the way, as you check your side profile in the mirror in the screens, that people put it on, but they're not staring at it. No. They're just glancing at it every now and then. Sometimes if you say something funny, they might glance at it. It's a new way of listening. But it's interesting because a lot of people who started off podcasting didn't start on screen. So they started just doing the audio. Yeah. And a lot of people who are just doing the audio aren't comfortable going on screen, so they will be lost and left behind. We have had a camera in our face for so long that we're so used to it. We don't really care. They did talk about as well that particularly females get a lot of comments about their looks and all the rest of it from
but I get comments about my sweatshirts. You
kind of get comments too about your looks. I'm not 100% sure that there's any difference, but maybe we're not young enough for anyone really to care, isn't it?
I think so.
You think so? I think so. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
No, but in terms of, I can
totally get that.
Yeah, I think in terms of the backlash, we chat about something, and we are, we're not always deadly serious, to be clear, and that is a tricky thing, and we never mean to. So if we speak about a criminal, and we just spoke, for example, about somebody like Fat Puss, there may be people that have had such negative experiences of maybe people associated with him. And, we don't mean to be flippant, because we're not flippant about crime. So there is sometimes we do get backlash, and we have sometimes got an email from somebody saying,
you're making a joke of something. Or
yes,
this
and I don't think we are. But I mean, you do have to take that on board. And
it's the nature of it as well, isn't it, podcasting? I mean, we're not RTE News and we're not the news. So we're not kind of like just completely serious.
There's no adult listening to what we're saying and saying, don't say that.
Yeah. Well, that's probably is the biggest problem of all, isn't it? As you say, the preparation sometimes isn't exactly enormous. We just get going. But
we do try and take good faith criticism on board.
We do. And we also try and monitor what people are liking, because we can see that, can't we? We can see the kind of conversations we have. Like, for example, this Q&A, people like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do. I think they like a bit of variation, maybe.
Yeah.
And the little bit, they don't know where the conversation is going to go. Neither do we, people. We haven't a clue where it's going to go. What's your favourite topic to discuss in the podcast? It says, I have to say, my favourite topic is often, sometimes anyway, more lighthearted stuff.
Yeah.
Like sort of the encounters we do have.
Yeah.
On the street, the various. And let's talk about the street for a minute, actually, because we are coming up to taking a few weeks off on holidays, and there's so many things we want to get around to, and we will do when we come back. But we work in a street called Talbot Street, which everybody, whether they are in Dublin or outside, surely has heard of. It would be quite a notorious street in Dublin. At one end of it, we have Connolly Station, where the trains come from the north and from various other parts of the country, and tourists spill out of Connolly Station, and to head up to the other end of it is where you have the Spire, which is connected to New York. I was walking past that earlier, and there's portal, still all these people waving, and the portal.
Let's see, we had a story.
The portal, not the Spire. Yeah, the portal.
We had a story of a sex offender who just got out, standing at the portal, on the weekend.
Doing what? Like just
walking past.
Taking a selfie of himself, along with everyone else. But anyway, this street has, it has definitely become, and it hit the headlines a number of times. Once because there was a very bad beating of an American tourist, and it caused the visitation to the area of the Commissioner, Drew Harris, and the former Justice Minister, Helen McEntee. I think both came with security to the area. And a lot of people who aren't used to this area would feel they might need to come with security. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, there's an awful lot of deprivation on the street out there. There is quite a lot of homeless population and drug-using population. We're kind of used to it, but it sometimes gets bad. And we speak to, and we know, and we're friends with a lot of people who have businesses around here now, places we frequent, like Lane My Love for a sandwich. We have, our Coffees and Insomnia next door, etc. And I have to call the name of the other coffee shop that we go to, because it's not
Frank and Honest.
Frank and Honest, thank you very much. Anyway, all our friends out there. But anyway, businesses are operating. I like the street. It is really nice. But we sat outside Lane My Love the other day for a sandwich, and we watched as a group of people smoked crack right in front of us, a couple of meters away.
Yeah, so, we're talking obviously about Daniel Kinahan in Dubai and his plush luxury life, but it translates back to Talbot Street.
Yeah.
And that's the exact end of that whole chain, because Talbot Street, as you said, we sat outside having a coffee one of the sunny days last week, and there's people smoking crack, and the degree at which they hide it is they just turn into the doorway and two of the guys
huddle a little bit. Just a little bit. And there's open drug dealing all the time. I don't think I've walked the street where I haven't seen people dealing drugs.
So there's also, if we sat there and you see various people, and it's really, really tragic, who've had limbs amputated. That's just a common sight, because of, mostly that's to do with blood clots due to injecting impure substances as a result of taking drugs. Obviously it's the end of that chain of criminality now,
and it's exactly what it does to a community.
It's what it does.
Because there is a community around here. While this is a city centre area and there's businesses, there's also people living the north inner city. Really, it is the community of that. You have people who are here, students who are living in apartments, you have people who are here working, and you have the actual residents, generational, of the north inner city. You have the street traders walking up and down. It's a place with loads and loads of character, and it's been completely destroyed by what it seems to be a lack of policing.
Well, it's a complicated problem, because the other part of the community are some of the people with the addicts themselves.
Yeah.
Who are, some of them are great characters, and they're part of the community as well. And people in Talbot Street, whether they're business blow-ins like ourselves or the locals, they don't look at the addicts as these are scum and somebody should lock them up. Like they look at them generally with compassion as individuals, I think.
Oh, I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, there's nobody, and the addicts, while they're engaged in drug dealing or whatever they are, they're not tending to be aggressive, so they're part of the community as well. But the problem is there's too much of it.
There's too much of it. That's what I was going to say, because there's been facilities that have been opened up in the area, and it looks to me like there's too many of those facilities opened up within a very small area, really, over the past few years. I did actually see two cops patrolling the street earlier today, but by and large, you don't see very many. No. You don't see much policing activity. A lot of the business people will complain that they're trying to ring for help and they have to kind of handle the situation nearly themselves.
Yeah,
before anybody comes. So it's sort of this disintegration of a community.
Yeah.
And when you see people, I wouldn't be surprised to see businesses shut down. You wouldn't certainly blame people for not feeling they can continue that struggle every day to keep their business going.
No.
You'd kind of go, well, look, you can see that it seems to be overrun at the moment with that street dealing. And it's going on so openly that there's no consequences there.
No. And there's a lot of stabbings. At a very basic level, there's people being stabbed all the time.
Yeah.
And it's shocking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a thing at night or people are being stabbed in broad daylight and people are walking past them. Not so long ago, was gone over to get a coffee and there was a guy stabbed another guy and people could just sort of walk, but just
kept going.
Just circled past. And
because it's normalising it, you see, in the same way as that drug dealing is being normalised completely. And imagine trying to have a young person grown up in the area or, to try and sort of steer them.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There are young lads selling drugs, teenagers, and, because they can make money, because it's simple, because even if they do get arrested, they're not going to be put away. It facilitates them into that lifestyle. And you can see it in the park.
But, you talk about, there's been an opening of probably more public accommodation for a particular type of homeless that is really causing problems. But it's also, it's such a complex situation because it's also that, that crack is being really pushed and embedded in the area. And crack has only got a very short hit time. So you have people out in the streets constantly. Not saying, by the way, before anyone starts that heroin is better, but a lot of the time heroin users will need a finite amount of hits a day. So they're not permanently out in the same place looking to score or whatever. Whereas crack users it just seems to be insatiable, the appetite for it, because the high doesn't last long enough.
No, and then there's the trays of, is that what they call them? Trays of the tablets.
They're
all
everywhere.
The time.
Yeah.
And of course, some of it is driven by the fact that there's methadone clinics and, although business owners will constantly say that methadone clinics should be spread around the city, they shouldn't all be concentrated in the inner city in a few areas. That continues to be the case. But look, it's very tragic. And I suppose you can see it's like we go down there and we'd have a coffee and it's a posh coffee that costs whatever. And there'd be people going around, business people, and, they're going in and getting, soy lattes. And then there's guys coming out selling crack on the same street, and it's a bizarre kind of mix of things, isn't it? And there's
but I think ultimately, we've been here years. I'm so fond of the place, I have to say, and there's so many characters.
Yeah, there is, and
great characters out there.
And of course, you see, this isn't to dehumanize people that are suffering from addiction, because there's guys out there who are drinking and doing whatever, and will say hello to us every day, and you have banter, and even the people at that.
There is something darker has come in. There is, as you said, there's a lot of stabbings. There's a lot of kind of violence out there.
Yeah.
And there is an edge to it sometimes that you just don't feel totally safe.
No, and everybody who works here, lives here, is from here, or even the people that are in the middle of it all, they all know it's not right.
They
continues on.
And there's an element of the community which is here, which is some of us blow-ins and some of them we're kind of starting to watch one another's backs now because there's a feeling of,
well, this isn't right. Even
isn't right.
Some of the people suffering at the very front end of the addiction now, this isn't right. So that's it's from the Jumeirah Bay.
Yeah.
To
Talbot Street.
Yeah.
And of course the Kinahans' own home and where they grew up, Oliver Bond, suffers from similar social problems like that. And probably a starker contrast is, that local authority housing complex where they grew up and what it's like now compared to where they live. Anyway, anybody who wants to contact us in relation to that, we will intend doing something. We're going to get out on the streets and do some stuff to try and help clean up Talbot Street, our own neighbourhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time we do a Q&A, we get sort of the bulk of questions in relation to the monk and the Kinahans. So we have touched on a question in relation to the Kinahans.
Well, let me ask
one question. Yeah, I was going to say about Hutch, and maybe you can ask one as well. Maybe it's the same one.
Okay.
Do you think it's naive of Jerry and Patsy Hutch to be walking around freely? Is that what you were going for?
No, I was going to say, did the monk and the general ever meet up or have a rivalry?
No idea.
Well,
we should have asked him that when we had a chance.
We should have, but Veronica Guerin did actually write about that in particular. She had been told, I think, that Martin Cahill, Martin Cahill, I suppose, in the fullness of time has become a sort of a folk hero nearly, has he? But in reality, of course, there was a very dark side to him, and people have obviously spoken a lot about that. But he was somebody who revelled in the attention, and apparently he did take offence to the monk.
Oh, why?
Well, he did take it because he felt he was a rival.
Took his thunder.
Took a bit of his thunder. And Veronica Guerin, of course, did interview Jerry Hutch. It was an interview he wasn't named at the time because Veronica Guerin had been shot, I think, in the leg, a non-fatal shooting. And John Traynor, I think, is suspected of setting up that shooting, but he blamed Jerry Hutch to her, and she had gone down and spoken to him, and so I think there was a degree of rivalry. But yeah, Martin Cahill is an interesting character because he was the first of a particular brand of criminal, wasn't he? That had this high profile in the public arena, and he was probably the first one to court the media. And he certainly did court the media. But yeah.
Well, he didn't do proper interviews as such. He made smart old comments when there was a camera in his face, and he danced in his underpants and with something over his head and things like that. He played with the media rather than courted them, I think. I think what fascinated about the general, and still does, has to have been those incredible heists. Like, we do love a heist.
Yeah.
And the intricacies of it. And obviously the raids on Rusborough House and the Art Hall and how that was carried out. And obviously the jewellery, the O'Connor's jewellery robbery, and other daring do.
Very ambitious.
Ambitious and stuff of films. And like, it's the same in the UK, a lot of those kind of the great train robbers and onwards to others. There's that element of, okay, again, not to make light of it, people got hurt and people were scared and traumatised, but it's not that sort of unnecessary shooting dead of individuals for the sake of power. It was more the intricacies of the heist, getting in and getting out without people dying.
Well, it was also, he was a bit of an outlaw.
Yeah.
That some of his motivation wasn't solely financial or power. Some of it did seem to be to go at least a bit at war with the state.
Which of course he was, as many others, including Jerry Hutch, were children who were poor, who were uneducated and who were taken away from their families and jailed as young teenagers and put in institutions. And I mean, that really is the core of why they rallied against the state.
Yeah.
And they believed what they weren't given, they were going to take.
Well, they believed that the state was a malign actor. And that rather than acting as something that protects the rights of individuals, that the state was instead a malign force. So that's, I think Jerry Hutch, from even having him in here, I think it's something that he believes to this day. So yeah,
I have to say, obviously, about the general, when you talk about those heists and people not getting hurt, he did put a bomb under Jim Donovan's car, the state's forensic scientist who lived for the rest of his life in pain and agony from the injuries he received. He was not that sort of ordinary, decent criminal. Some of his actions were intriguing and the stuff of films. Others were pure
horror. I think some of the courting of the media, if you want to put it that way. Some of that was driven by a certain type of narcissism.
For sure.
And
which was reflective in his personal life as well.
Yeah.
We'll just finish on that question there that I hit on. Do you think it's naive of Jerry and Patsy Hutch to be walking around freely? I'll answer that maybe a little bit.
Go on.
I don't think that they are naive. I think they're probably aware that they still remain under threat. I think, we're heading into 8 years after the Regency Hotel? Nine coming up to 9 years. Yeah. People learn how to live with life under threat with that level of it. I think we see the Hutches, the odd time people will see Jerry or Patsy Hutch walking around Dublin. It's their city. They're entitled to. I do think their presence is reflective in a certain amount of policing around areas where they are. And I'd say they probably are aware that, their presence will draw such extra free security for them. But obviously it's reflective of in case the public gets hurt. Undoubtedly, the threat level of the Kinahan and Hutch feud has gone down significantly. For years, it was at critical level, which is the same level that would be used in cases where there's a threat of terrorism. But it has certainly depleted, is never going to be gone, but has depleted. And I suppose people have to get used to living their life. I think probably from what I know, which is very little of both, they are careful. And they've learned to be careful in what they go, who they mix with and what they do.
And of course, not just the Hutches. I mean, there's a number of people from the other side who've now served sentences in relation to offences connected with that feud. For example, Liam Brannigan and Dean Howe, who've served sentences, come out of prison and have opened a coffee shop on the south side of the city. Effectively, everybody knows where they are every day, and they're getting on with life as well. So there is some sort of, while there's no peace treaty signed that's then going to be monitored by some sort of force, there must be some sort of word has gone about, that things have been taken down a notch.
All right. And to finish. When's the next live show? Go for it.
An electric picnic.
Yeah.
Are we not at the top of the poster?
Stage.
No.
We're on the main. Are we not?
I don't know. Get your one Chapel Roan off.
Yeah. Anyway, anyone who wants to see us, we're going to be at an electric picnic on the Friday night and on the podcast arena area.
Then I might do a bit of dancing.
Do you know what we're talking about?
What?
Do you know what we're talking about?
No.
When are you going to start worrying about that?
Not like the 5 days before.
See how you've changed.
No, but no.
Remember you used to panic weeks and weeks in advance. You used to be following me around the office going, can we practice? What are we going to do?
No.
And I'd say to you, no, we're not. I'm not even telling you what we're going to do. And then I'll start worrying about that in the run up to it, shall we say.
Yeah.
And when I get my brain back, when I take a little bit of time off and I can...
Yeah, start of August will be plenty of time to work.
Yeah, start of August, that's like next week. Anyway, for the moment, over and out.
Over and out.
I'm Nicola Tallant and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.